We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Hello, Mavs fans. Welcome to Pod Maverick After Dark. I'm Kirk Henderson, and I'm joined as always by Josh Bowe. We are editors at Mavs Moneyball, and we're coming to you live. It's about 11:40 following the Dallas Mavericks getting a really, frankly, incredible Game 2 win over the Oklahoma City Thunder, 119-110. Josh, how are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm hanging in there. Pretty tired, real life, reared its ugly head this week, but this was a fun game to watch, especially after that game 1 result. That was like, it almost felt like mirror games in a lot of ways, and we'll get into it. But that was a really nice, high stakes, competitive, engaging NBA playoff game, and the Mavericks won. So that means we get to talk about a lot of good stuff.
Talk about a lot of weird stuff. Most of it good. Game. Welcome to Mavs Party. It's about 12:20 it's Friday, May 10th. Shout out to Friday. Big happy thoughts from me on that. I've had enough caffeine to kill a small elephant, so we're going to be here talking basketball till you guys want to go to bed. If those of you who are new to the show don't know what we're talking about here, there is a link in the live show on YouTube. It is a StreamYard link, which you can click into from your phone. You can click into from your computer. You can come talk basketball with me, and we will hang out until people really want to go, because I am feeling good right now. I see 4 names in the chat. We got Brian, Casey, Zach, and Nate, though Nate's phone or device doesn't seem to be connecting. I'm going to go with names that I don't recognize first. Just because I want people who are doing this for the first time or with less frequency to really feel like they can come up and do this. This is a community-based show. You guys help make it great, and I want you to feel like this is a place where you can come talk basketball with friends. So coming up first is Casey. Casey, hey. How are you?
Hey, man, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I am pumped.
Happy to talk some basketball. Yeah, I feel a lot better than Tuesday, I'll tell you that.
I was really sad on Tuesday.
Yeah, they hung in there for like the half, 3/4, and it was like, oh, this is better than the game one last time, but no, it was no good. So,
Yep.
Hey, my son's making an appearance. Hey, how are you? I'll be right back. I'll be back in a second, okay? All right.
Why are you talking to people on the internet at midnight?
I'm in LA. It's only 10 o'clock here.
Ah, nice.
But he's getting ready for bed. It's his birthday this weekend. So
mine too. Happy birthday to your son.
Yeah, thank you. Anyway, I just wanted to say hi. I felt really good tonight. I think one of the things I've noticed that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about is the way that Luka and Kyrie. I wasn't really a fan of the trade last year. I just felt like it felt like those guys had never talked to each other outside of it. Like they were just playing different games. And but since they started this role last year, they found this thing where they will just sort of casually, like they have a casual confidence of just handing the game back and forth to each other. Where it's like, hey, why don't you take this for a little while? And I've actually never seen that before with two superstars like that. Just kind of like just why don't you run it for a while, and then they'll step back and let the other guy run it. And it's really unique because they have sort of crossover skill sets, which is why I didn't like the trade. I was like, well, whatever Kyrie adds, he takes away from Luka in a way. And I was just like, they need to get bigger, and they're not doing it. And they tried to get bigger last year, and it was with JaVale McGee and Christian Wood, and it just was not coming together. And so now now that they have PJ out there and Gafford, and they're just bigger in the middle, and it unlocks Luka and Kyrie being able to handle the backcourt. It feels great. So I don't know how long this can go, but I'm just going to enjoy this run now because I was feeling pretty grim at this time last year.
Yeah.
So this is great. Even if they push this to 6 or 7, I'm not going to feel terrible about this season. But there's also maybe they can do it.
I mean, that's the thing about these small sample size games where it's, when we're playing the Clippers in the last round, we kept saying, oh, they can't shoot this well again, only for them to shoot this well again.
Right.
And compared to the Thunder, this is just honest. The Mavericks have a narrower path to victory.
Sure.
The Thunder have some amazing player. Cason Wallace comes in off the bench. Cason Wallace would be our 5th best player. And he is the 8th guy for the Thunder. They just have a lot of talent.
Yeah, I have not watched the Thunder much this year, honestly, but I now seeing these two games, I like Chet just scares the shit out of me.
They're really fun. You grow to hate a team when you watch them like this because they're beating your team.
But they're fun to watch, and it was God, if I wasn't playing this team, I would love this team. But no, I mean, when you see. Tonight, you would see 3 or 4 times where it's they're under the basket and they're trying, and 4 layups don't go in, or they miss a dunk, and you're like, what's wrong with them? Is there a lid on the basket? And it's it's because Chet is down there and he's just messing everything up. And then he's shooting threes, and it's I don't know what you do about this guy. So thankfully tonight he wasn't hitting, which was great. But I enjoyed watching that game tonight. This has been a heck of a run. I really have high hopes for this, so I hope to not be disappointed.
Well, they need to win one of these damn day games because they have been annihilated in these Saturday or Sunday afternoon games.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And my little boy's 8, and he'll sit there and watch these games with me. He doesn't get to watch a ton because they play late. And he obviously knows the team's good because he knows the record. But every time he watches with me, they look like shit. And I'm just like, this is horrible. He's like, he asked me, he's like, Daddy, why are we watching this? I'm like, buddy, I couldn't tell you.
I mean, it's hard. I mean, I don't want to say that Jason Kidd's a bad coach. I don't think he's a bad coach, and it's hard for me to say the words that he might be a good coach. He's maybe he's in the top half. But then
I think in-game stuff he drives me crazy about.
Yeah, he does things. If he's good, then why does he do things that are just confounding?
The vision of what he wants the Mavericks to be. When it's executed, the Mavericks look great. So if you were to think of him as more of an architect than a head coach, then I think that there's a heck of a lot there to be happy with. But then there's the in-game stuff where he today I'm glad we didn't need to talk about this, but I thought Daniel Gafford broke his hand and he left him in the game for 3 more possessions, not calling a timeout.
Luka was hopping on 1 foot, and I was like, he's going to be out for the rest of the series.
Yeah, and Kid's just it's fine. Rub some dirt on it. You're good.
Oh, my God. No, I mean, I'm glad. The one thing I like about Kidd is he's not one of these coaches who just substitutes on the clock. Like, oh, there's 2 minutes left. That's when you come in. That's when you come. He is watching the game and trying to adjust and putting in different lineups. But sometimes it's like, what is this lineup? And then, I mean, Tim Hardaway was great today. He had an assist, which I don't think I've ever seen before. Like, I was like, this is weird. So it's like normally with Tim, it's like if he makes shots, it's a good game. If he doesn't make shots, it's a bad game. And this time he was like actually dribbling and like throwing the ball around. That I was just real strange to see.
It's great. Absolutely wild.
Yeah.
Well, Casey, thanks so much for joining. You got anything else?
Thank you. No, I'll let you go, man. I'm just happy. I've been listening for a while, so I've been meaning to get on here, but just,
Good.
I'm
jealous. As much as I love Dallas, I went to college at Pepperdine. So like,
nice.
I deeply miss Southern California on a day like today, where the last 2 days where it's been like in the 90s and it feels like hell. So,
yeah, it's been beautiful here. Well, I took my son to game 2 against the Clippers, so we had a good time there too. Man. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, you have a nice night. Thanks for talking.
Thanks, man. Good to talk to you.
Okay, coming up next with an incredible screen name is Wang Zhizhi.
What up, Kirk?
Welcome to the show. What's going on?
Hey, thanks for having me. I think after game 1, I was like totally done. I was like, Lucas is going to be injured the whole time. He's not going to be able to hit any shots. He's not going to be able to push off that knee. And I was thinking we'd be down in 5. But this has given me a whole lot of hope, which is great. I think you and Josh talked a little bit about PJ. I think I love how he showed up, but I think I hope they can get him going in the low post a little bit more and like can get some more offense from him, like him initiating the offense. I feel like a lot of his offense comes from spotting up and shooting in a corner, and if that's not going, maybe he has a couple floaters. But I would just love to see some more initiative on his end, and maybe that's on Kidd to drop some more stuff for him, but if they can just trap Shea or whoever little guy is down there on the block with him, and he can just punish them, that's something else I have to deal with.
I've the offense and what the Thunder are doing defensively to the Mavericks. So did you watch the game where the Mavericks came all the way back down from 30 only to lose to the Thunder anyway? Do you remember this game? Yeah.
Yeah, I do. That was I was rough. Yeah.
That was a horrible game, but we learned a lot about the Mavericks that game. And one of the things that the Thunder have countered with is they're not always sending like very mixed doubles at Luka at different points in the shot clock. And so I'm wondering if the Mavericks will see anything on tape, because if you get PJ operating out of the center of the floor, he's really dangerous because he can pass the ball. He can hit that floater. He can also just go in and dunk the crap out of it. And they're not utilizing all of his skill set right now. And Josh was talking about how he's hitting a lot of threes and how that's probably not sustainable. But I do like watching PJ operate with the ball as the roll man, or really as the release valve with some of those things. So hopefully we'll get that, because I do agree that like sometimes him standing in the corner feels a little bit like a waste.
Yeah, and if he's not hitting his threes, if he didn't hit 7 threes today, and you've seen those games, right, where he's making 7 points, 8 points, and it's just tough to come by. So yeah, I hope that comes through in the next couple of games. Another thing is, what is a charge, Kurt? I would love for you to explain to me what a charge is. If Derek Jones is jumping, he's trying to avoid Jalen Williams, and he hits, like, brushes his right shoulder. That's a charge all of a sudden?
Well, I mean, remember, they tried to challenge that, but it didn't get overturned. And I was glad to see that, because he was outside the circle, but Derek Jones Jr. avoids him. It's like one of the things that makes LeBron James like a super athlete is he never really charges, because he always gets to that side. And that's where it was pretty amazing that Derek Jones Jr. was able to do that. But the Thunder are pretty good at that sort of thing. I mean, PJ got one earlier by like taking him right in the chest, which I don't know. The only thing I was actually good at back in the day was taking charges. So I have a special love in my heart, even though I know a lot of people hate the charge. The reviews tonight really took the wind out of the game, but like there were 2 really long ones, and it was like that one was like they came back from commercial, and Hubie Brown is just sitting there. He's like. He's so old, and he's like, I don't have much time left to live. Can we move this along? Because it's clearly not a block.
Yeah, he's. I hope he lives forever, but he's kind of slowing down a little bit. But I think there was a review, like you said, that was so long, and they come back, and I forget if it was Grant and Hubie, but both of them still said it was. I think it was the foul. It was P.J. Washington's foul, or he blocked Lou Dort's shot, and even after they had looked at it for however long, and they confirmed that it was a block. Hubie Brown still said, "Well, he looked like he hit his arm." And
it did to me too. I couldn't believe they overturned that. I don't understand. I really don't. Oh well.
Otherwise, my last point is I hope that Derek Lively just calms down a little bit. Maybe just takes an extra dribble. Even the same thing with Gafford. Just take an extra dribble after you are rolling, and because I think right when they dump off to Gafford in the free throw line, he's already starting to, do a two-step approach to.
He only missed 2 shots, but it felt worse than that.
I know, and like even after that, when you get to that point, it's only little guys. They don't really have a power forward. It's just Chet, and if Chet's not in the picture, just take an extra dribble, go up strong, and I don't know. I hope they can just dominate.
I hope so too, because if he's able to score in the lane, then that's just going to break the Thunder defense. Like if he has a game where he starts off like 3 of 3 in the first quarter on some of those things, then that's going to force the Thunder to adjust. And I mean, I don't want to say the Mavericks stole one tonight, but you can see like elements of their path of how they win. It's just, they just need to execute on some of those other paths so they don't have to rely on the 3-point shot.
Yeah, I agree. And that's something we had to do like even before this trade, is rely on the 3-point shot. But we don't have to. And otherwise, maybe I'll see you Saturday, and go Mavs.
Thanks so much. Talk soon.
Yep.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Okay, coming up next, we got my man Brian. What's going on, man?
I'm not muted. Okay. Man, excited for a win. I must say, I actually have a confession to make. I did not watch a single second of the game.
Why?
I'll tell you what. I was watching with my friends around the time the game started. This Amazon Prime Kendrick Lamar Acceptance Tour performance that he had on there from last year. I was watching that with them, and we were talking about it and having fun. And I checked, and I saw that the game was on, and I told myself, okay, if the Mavericks are playing well while I'm watching this, I won't turn the game on.
I appreciate that commitment.
To go bad.
Dalton Trigg, do you hear what Brian did? Dalton Trigg of DallasBasketball.com. Do you hear that Brian took one for the team so that the Mavericks could win? Dalton, I kid you not, man. He'll like be in group chats with me, and he's like, I just tuned in, and then the Mavericks will lose like 10 points. We'll go the other way. Dalton, stop it.
That is the worst feeling on earth. And I was like, and knowing that game one is a feel out game, knowing how Kid approaches these things and knowing pretty much his coaching style as far as how he's going to start a series now, I should have known that it wasn't going to, it wasn't going to go great. They were going to be pretty rigid in what they were doing defensively. And they're like, okay, we're going to bear down on this one thing and then maybe try something else in the second half if that isn't working. But for the most part, we are here to take notes. I knew that. I still allowed myself to get really mad after game one. But I'm excited to see the adjustments that they made coming in the game too. I mean, because it can't just be, hey, PJ, make 7 threes and and Tim also had your first good game in like 3.5 months. As the adjustment, I'm sure there was more. Those things helped, but I haven't had an opportunity really to just pour honey on the entire team in a while. And Tim Hardaway Jr., welcome to the playoffs. I appreciate you.
Well, now we need to. Can we trade him in the playoffs?
Look, bro, the first thing I tweeted.
Is there a trade? Is there a portal for, man, look, guys, Tim Hardaway Jr., look at this. Look at
the first tweet I got off when I saw he was playing. It was literally, thank you, Tim. Get that trade value up.
Yeah.
I still appreciate it, but we know where it's going this summer. Actually, no, what I said was, don't go out like a hoe on your last ride, because this is his last ride. But you don't have to go out sad, man. We know you can be better than what you've been. So it was good to see him flex that a bit. Josh has continued to be impressive, and
he really was. Yeah,
it's really important to me. I can't wait to see it like for myself. But I looked at the box score. I saw he hit 3 threes, and
he hit. So Josh said the Mavericks were 6 of 19 for corner threes, and a lot of those were PJ. I mean, PJ was 7 of 11, so he obviously hit a ton of threes. But Derek Jones Jr., Josh, and PJ got the bulk of the corner threes. Dante Exum, again, missed one and then just never shot again. So it's really the Mavericks, they won in a weird way tonight. But I also, and we talked about this, Josh and I did, and some of the previous people who come up here, there are other paths to where they could win offensively. Like, it wasn't just because they hit a bunch of threes. They had a lot of stuff where they could have won by like 25 more points. You know, Derek Lively finishing, Derek Jones Jr. actually finishing. Like, there's things that the Mavericks can do that they ought to be looking at.
You want to know when I knew that this was going to be our type of game, and a game that we were going to be in all the way through, no matter whether we won or lost?
Mm-hmm.
Towards the end of the first quarter, because I wasn't watching the game, but I was checking on Real Sports app. I was checking like the game feed, so I was seeing, kind of the play-by-play and seeing the score and checking the box score now and then. But didn't turn the game on for a second, so I'm excited to watch. But I knew end of the first quarter when I looked at the overall team stats and I saw Oklahoma City, 6 free throws attempted. Dallas Mavericks, 5 free throws attempted. And I saw turnovers just about identical. They had a slight lead in fast break points, but it wasn't anything that we couldn't make up. The rebounding looked the way that it should have in game one. And the shooting percentages were just about all flat. I saw Luka hit 2 threes early. PJ hit 2 threes early. Josh Green hit a 3 early. And I was like, okay, we're making our shots presumably in the corner, but probably also on the wing. Now that you give me that stat about the corner threes, and we're not turning the ball over. We're not
that was the big part.
Offensive rebounds, and they aren't getting to the line, and neither are we, which let me know that.
I felt like they were getting to the line, though. Like, I thought, and I was kind of wrong about this. Shea drew a lot of fouls, but he did not draw a lot of shooting
fouls. Yeah. And so, like, it's difficult to tell in the moment when you're watching. That's why, like, I feel like it was kind of a mercy to myself to not put myself through stressing and watching that game. But when I'm able to step away and I'm able to just like go and look at the numbers, okay, it's not as many fouls as it feels like. Not all of them are shooting fouls, and there weren't as many ticky-tack fouls being called in this game as game one. Just by looking at the box score, this is a game called much more closely to usual playoff rules, like the Nuggets-Wolves series, than what we got in game one, which felt like a regular season game. And if we could keep them in the mud like that and have the opportunity to use our physical strength and our vertical athleticism, which are the only ways we can really combat their speed and their shooting talent, then we were going to be in the game.
Yeah. It's nice. It's really something.
They let you play basketball. It's nice.
Well, I do recommend you trying to watch it if you can find a means, because the Oklahoma City folks were in Luka's ear. Kyrie got into it with a fan. Luka also got into it with the fan, to the point that Brad Townsend already has a story up on what he was mad about. And like, I just gotta, like, look, I think the Thunder have more talent than the Mavericks. Okay. Just as a team, but don't fucking poke the bear, you morons.
How many times are we gonna have to see this, man?
What are we
Learn?
doing right now? Like, the guy is on his last leg. He looks like he's about to die, and you're like, you know what? Why don't we say something stupid about his family? Like, why not? Like, let's just poke the bear. What the fuck do you think? Like, Luka got in this guy's grill on the sideline. Like, his eyes got so big because people don't understand this unless you go to games regularly. Most basketball players are very skinny. Okay, they are. All of them. LeBron's an exception. Zion's an exception. Luka is an exception. Luka might be carrying a little too much weight these days, but Luka is a massive human being. Okay, he weighs 250 minimum, and it's all here. It's all here. You don't want to fuck with this guy. Why would you get in his faces, or why would you I just don't understand it. I wouldn't talk to players. Like, no, I bet it's just I
just one family ill, right? Like, don't do that. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, it's a basketball game.
No, like Don Knobler, before he died, was a Mavericks super fan, and he basically got sent away for talking to Russell Westbrook so inappropriate. Just like, stop it. Like, stop. Like, these guys are lunatics. They're competitive lunatics. Don't leave them alone.
Yeah, just one, don't do that. Two, how many more times we're gonna have to teach all this lesson, man? Don't tug on Superman's cape. Don't tug on Superman's cape. You should know better than that by now. But
right.
They don't, and we benefited. So yeah, I got this game recorded, and I can't wait to watch.
If Lucas shaved his head and grew a beard, he'd be scary. Well, I mean, with the way his hairline is silently retreating, that might be.
Brother, we might be there sooner than you think. We got 3-4 years left ticking on this clock.
He would be fifth. Like Wilbon wouldn't talk about him. Stephen A. Smith wouldn't acknowledge his existence if he did that.
Dude, anyway. Imagine the Derek White ball boost that he would get. Oh man.
Right.
First
Brian,
team all defense, baby.
I'll talk to you later. Thanks for hanging out.
Yes, sir. Peace.
All right. Coming up last, Krishna, what's going on?
Kirk, how are you?
You have your avatar, your background is your Josh Green meme, and it's incredible photo. That's a dingo in the background of you, not a dog. Just so everyone's clear.
He has that dingo. I have no idea where I found it. I've been trying to reverse engineer the person that gave me this meme in the summer, and I have no idea where it's from, but I insistently use it because it is a fantastic meme to use. But man, what a great game, Kirk. It's so funny. 0-5 in game ones. That's like the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. How we won 3 series at this point, I'll never know. But obviously Luka, he's fantastic. Like, he's been so hobbled, but the fact that he just pulled out a game like that is pretty insane. And maybe the MVP stuff motivated him. I don't think so. I think just losing game one was enough.
I'm glad you're asking me. I'm glad you bring this up. We're so far into this podcast and nobody listens to this one relative to our other show. I don't do sourcing stuff very much. Let me just tell you, I was told that the MVP stuff absolutely pissed him off. Like, absolutely pissed him off when he saw that he was third behind Shea. So
I would think so too. I would hope so. I mean, like, look, I'm with you. I don't think Shea, I don't hate Shea. I just get annoyed at the whistle. I think the whistle kind of annoys me, but I like his overall game. Like, I think he's clearly a very good player.
Oh yeah.
But narratives are what they are. It felt like they felt very lazy to me, right?
Sure.
It felt more of a justification to not give Luka the MVP rather than giving other players a reason to give it. It is what it is. I'm not going to sit about and worry about it. You're in the playoffs at this point. Like, what does it matter? But that's like who Luka is. Like, we've seen it the whole time. Like, literally his most famous clip is like, everybody acts tough when they're up. Like, he says that for a reason because this guy's a maniac when he wants to compete. Like, I think Tim last season had that article about Luka when he was still in Slovenia and he was 14 and he was playing, or he was younger, probably. I think he was 8 playing against 12-year-olds and he was just destroying all these kids. Like, he's been like that since he was a kid. And so I don't know. I think I just kind of did expect it and I'm glad it came out from him, but what a game. And then I don't know if you guys have talked about it much, but I get the frustration with Kyrie not being aggressive, but it's something that I feel like we've talked so much about in the past few years, is just that we want players to make the right decisions rather than just, do whatever. And I feel like that was the kind of game Kyrie played. In a way, it was very similar to Game 5 versus the Clippers. Less scoring, obviously, than that game, but he had way more assists. And the thing that's been continuous is his defensive effort has been there the entire time this playoff.
For who? For Kyrie? Absolutely. Kyrie has been locked in on defense, and that it's harder to talk about defense in a post-game pod, but he got his money's worth on his fouls. He was hustling around. There was a lot to like about Kyrie tonight. He had 4 stocks, two steals and 2 blocks. Really impressive.
Yeah, and I think we won the overall stocks battle, right? And I think we're like undefeated or close to undefeated in this playoffs when we win that. So that's a good sign. And then obviously PJ, man, like
sure.
I get all the hullabaloo and the fuss about I get all the hullabaloo and fuss about, trading the first round pick, but it's like the thing that we talked about and that had been talked about so much is you have to build a winning team around Luka. And I get that there has to be a balance, right? You don't want to be the Suns where you say, I don't care about a 13-year-old kid, so you trade all your picks. But the thing that's key is PJ clearly has offered something to this team this Mavericks team didn't have. Like we're already down Maxey. That's a huge loss. If we didn't trade for PJ Washington, it would have been even worse. Honestly, it really would have been worse. And so I'm not saying it's a definite win, that trading that first round pick was a definite win, but I can't see how you look at that trade and you say, oh, that was the worst decision you could have made. I think it was absolutely worth it. And the same with Gafford. What it's done is it's given you not like necessarily the biggest safety net, but it's given you some level and some sense of less worry, right? Less variability to your game overall.
Yeah.
You're going to say something.
Love it.
Yeah, that's it. Obviously, Josh was awesome tonight. If you told me before the playoffs began, Josh would be the best role player in these past 2 series off the bench, I would have laughed you off.
I agree. No, I mean, I essentially, Exum turning into a pumpkin is so weird. I do want Exum to get, I want Kid to stick with him a little longer, Exum, because his ball handling was really helpful. It just is. And he needs to see a corner 3 go down. He has hit 1 meaningful 3 in the last month. He hit one April 10th against the Heat. And since then, he's only hit 1 other 3, and it was in garbage time in game 1 against the Thunder. And he's getting like 1 a game. He needs 1 to go down. He is a functional shooter. And I'm very frustrated with kind of the short leash that he gets relative to other people, just because I think they're going to need him. Like, he's a good basketball player. We've seen it.
No, I agree. I think it is frustrating that he is the one with the shortest leash out of him. And I don't think Josh necessarily has as short a leash now. Like you can see, even if like game 1, he wasn't making every shot, but he took 8 threes, which is like pretty crazy that he took 8 threes, but he still made 3 of them. But it is frustrating, but I also think it's a balance, right? And I don't disagree with you that I do think maybe a little bit more out there. And it's weird that these past 2 series have not been great for him. I thought he would have done at least a little better in the Clippers series. This one I can kind of understand, right? It's a far more athletic team, but what you hope for is that he just has that one game that, like gets him. Like, I think we always think about Maxey having that great 8-3 game against Utah, but he had some rough games in that series.
Oh my God. Yes. Yeah.
And that happens. Like I get he's a veteran, and especially Dante, like you see all the Slavia, it wasn't Slavia Prague. I forget which club he played for in Europe, but you see all those crowds and you think, oh, he played in that. Why can't he play in this? And it may not be so much the crowd, just himself. And, like you said, it just takes 1 shot to go in and that's it. You might start clicking. So I get the concern. I don't think it's unwarranted. I don't know. I've got faith. And I think that it would be more concerning if this was like Rick, right? Where it felt like when Rick pulls a player, he's just never going to go back to it. And that's kind of something I do give Kid credit for, is he doesn't seemingly completely give up on players. he at least gives them a chance to work their way back in. And so concerning, yes. DEFCON 5, no, is what I would say on the Exum thing. But overall, good game. Obviously, you have to come back home on Saturday. It's so funny. Apparently, OKC is like terrible on
good day game, so we might have a mid-off for the Mavericks.
Yes, no. This is going to be the biggest mid-off you've ever seen. No one's going to make a three. It's going to be horrible.
Oh, my God. Can't wait. I'm sure I'll get to recap that game, too. All right. Thanks for hanging out, man.
Absolutely. Have a great night, Kirk.
All right. So I wrote the recap over at Mavs Moneyball. You guys should go read it. I wrote 1,100 words like a sociopath. We had 2 different stats posts turned in because I didn't work out who was doing what before the game. Josh almost always writes a post-game column following these type of games, but I told him not to because he needs to get some sleep. He's been staying up extra late doing Mavs stuff. But yeah, we got stuff over there. Thanks so much for hanging out. Those of you who are listening this late into the show, please leave a comment. Please like the show. Please subscribe if you haven't. Those of you, if we had a couple more people leave tips. Albert, thanks so much. Albert left us a $5 tip. Really appreciate these sorts of things, guys. Josh and I are always very grateful. Okay, we'll be back on Saturday. Probably, like I said, I'm going to run a shorter show because I want to go see a movie with my kid. But this has been a lot of fun. This is what we worked so hard for, as content makers all years, to be able to enjoy the Mavericks with you guys at the key point in the year. Hope everybody has a great Friday, and we will talk to you guys on Saturday. Go Mavs.
Everyone is talking about magnesium. It's all you hear about. But why? What do we know about magnesium? Well, magnesium is the #1 mineral that 75% of Americans are deficient in. If you are a woman over 35, magnesium will help you rediscover balance, energy, and vitality. Magnesium supports more than 300 enzymatic reactions in your body, including those involved in hormonal balance. From functional medicine doctors to mental well-being and female hormone experts, we all know that magnesium is the one mineral to improve all aspects of well-being and health. But which one? Magnesium Breakthrough from Bioptimizers, the trusted choice recommended by leading experts with 7 best-absorbed forms of magnesium to ensure your body receives the support it needs for overall well-being. Go to bioptimizers.com/balance today and use code BALANCE10 for 10% off. Support your journey to wellness at bioptimizers.com/balance. Magnesium Breakthrough from Bioptimizers, your foundation to optimal health and vitality.